Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving deep into the life of one of the earliest and most influential figures in Christian history, Saint Clement of Rome. Who was this man, and why is he so important? Let's find out. Clement of Rome, also known as Pope Clement, lived in the very first century, right after the time of Jesus' apostles. Think about that for a moment. He was part of the generation that personally knew the people who knew Jesus. Tradition holds that Clement was consecrated a bishop by none other than St. Peter himself. That's a direct link to the very beginnings of the church. So, what do we know about his life? The details are a bit sparse, as they are for many figures from this era. Early Christian writers like Irenaeus and Tertullian tell us he was the third bishop of Rome after Peter, following Linus and Clement. This places his leadership, or papacy, around the year 92 to 101 AD. During this time, the Christian community was still small, facing suspicion and occasional persecution from the Roman Empire. Clement's role would have been to guide, unify, and strengthen this fledgling community in the heart of the empire. His most famous contribution, and the main reason we know so much about him, is a letter he wrote, known as the First Epistle of Clement. This letter was sent from the church in Rome to the church in Corinth. Now, you might remember Corinth from the Apostle Paul's letters. It seems the Corinthian church was still having some issues with division and internal squabbles, even decades later. Some younger members had rebelled and kicked out their established church leaders. Clement wrote to them to restore order and harmony. His letter is incredible. It's filled with quotes from the Old Testament and teachings from Jesus and the apostles. He urges the Corinthians to practice humility, obedience, and love, reminding them of the importance of proper order and leadership within the church. He uses the analogy of a Roman army, where every soldier has their place and follows their commander, to illustrate how the church should function in unity. This letter is a historical treasure. It's one of the oldest Christian documents outside of the New Testament itself. It gives us a priceless glimpse into the beliefs, structure, and challenges of the early church just a few decades after the apostles. For example, Clement clearly talks about the concept of apostolic succession, the idea that the authority of the apostles was passed down through the bishops they appointed. This became a foundational doctrine for many Christian traditions. The letter was so highly regarded in the early church that, for a time, some even considered it to be part of the New Testament scriptures. Now, let's talk about the end of his life. Tradition tells a dramatic story. It's said that Emperor Trajan banished Clement to Chrysonesus, a remote penal colony in the Crimea. There, he was forced to work in the mines. But even in exile, Clement continued his ministry. Legend says he found the other prisoners suffering from a lack of water, and after praying, he struck the ground with an axe, causing a spring of fresh water to gush forth. His success in converting his fellow prisoners and local pagans supposedly angered the Roman authorities. According to the legend, they decided to make an example of him. They tied an anchor around his neck and threw him into the Black Sea, ensuring his body could not be recovered and venerated by Christians. This is why you often see St. Clement depicted in art with an anchoret, as the symbol of his martyrdom. Centuries later, the story continues that his relics were miraculously found and brought back to Rome by Saints Cyril and Methodius. So, what is Clement's legacy? He has served as one of the Apostolic Fathers, that first generation of leaders who learned directly from the apostles. His letter to the Corinthians shows a clear concern for church unity and established authority, themes that would remain central to Christianity. He bridged the gap between the age of the apostles and the future of the church, helping to solidify its structure and teachings during a critical, formative period. From his direct connection to St. Peter, to his powerful letter that shaped early Christian thought, to the dramatic story of his martyrdom, Saint Clement of Rome stands as a giant of the early church. His life reminds us of the courage and conviction of those first Christians who laid the foundation for a faith that would one day span the globe. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd like us to cover next. See you in the next video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic that's central to Christian history. The 12 Apostles of Jesus. Who were these men, and what incredible journeys did their lives take after walking with Jesus? Let's find out. First up, we have Simon, whom Jesus renamed Peter, meaning rock. A fisherman by trade, Peter was often the spokesperson for the group. He was bold, impulsive, and deeply devoted. Tradition holds that he traveled to Rome, where he was martyred by being crucified upside down, as he felt unworthy to die in the same manner as Jesus. Next is Peter's brother Andrew. He was also a fisherman and was actually a disciple of John the Baptist before he followed Jesus. Andrew is known for bringing people to Jesus, including his own brother. Peter, he is believed to have preached in areas around the Black Sea and was martyred in Greece on an X-shaped cross. Then we have the sons of Zebedee, James and John. Jesus called them the sons of thunder, likely because of their fiery. James was the first apostle to be martyred, as recorded in the book of Acts, executed by King Herod Agrippa in Jerusalem. His brother, John, is traditionally known as the disciple whom Jesus loved. He authored the Gospel of John, 3 epistles, in the book of Revelation. He's the only apostle believed to have died of old age, exiled on the island of Patmos. Philip, from the same town as Peter and Andrew, was the one who brought Nathanael to Jesus. He had a practical mind, often asking very direct questions. Tradition says he preached in Phrygia, in modern-day Turkey, and was martyred there. Bartholomew, who is often identified as Nathanael, was praised by Jesus as an Israelite in whom there is nothing false. After Jesus' ascension, he is said to have traveled as a missionary to places as far as India and Armenia, where he was martyred. Then there's Matthew, also known as Levi, who was a tax collector of profession, despised at the time. He left everything behind to follow Jesus and wrote the Gospel of Matthew. He is believed to have preached in Persia and Ethiopia, where he eventually met his martyrdom. Thomas, often called Doubting Thomas, is famous for needing to see and touch Jesus' wounds to believe in the resurrection. But his doubt turned into a powerful declaration of faith. My Lord and my God. Tradition holds that he traveled all the way to India to spread the gospel and established a church there before being martyred. Next is James, the son of Alphaeus, sometimes called James the Less to distinguish him from the other apostle James. Not much is written about him in the Bible, but tradition suggests he preached in Syria and was martyred there. Thaddeus, also known as Jude, son of James, is another apostle we know little about. He is credited with writing the short epistle of Jude in the New Testament. He is often linked with Simon the Zealot, and they are said to have preached and been martyred together in Persia. Simon the Zealot was, as his name suggests, likely part of a Jewish political movement that fiercely opposed Roman rule. His inclusion shows that Jesus' followers came from all walks of life and political spectrums. His post-ascension story is less clear, but as mentioned, one strong tradition links his missionary work in martyrdom with Thaddeus. Finally, we have Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, overcome with remorse. He met a tragic end shortly after Jesus' crucifixion. The remaining 11 apostles chose Matthias to replace him, bringing their number back to 12 to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. So, from fishermen to tax collectors, these 12 ordinary men were called to an extraordinary mission. Their lives were transformed, and they went on to carry a message that would change the course of history, often paying the ultimate price for their faith. Their stories are a powerful testament to conviction and sacrifice. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next video.